Okay,
No,
great.
so you're bright and shiny. This is what we do, everybody, all day. We sit and look at cameras. Sabrina Heisey, welcome to the RA chat that has no name. RA, the Research Administrative Director at the Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, and RA for how many years now?
2007 or 8.
Oh my God, I remember.
Oh,
So
you trained
Sabrina
me.
and I have known each other since we were both RA babies, and it's great. And the reason why I wanted to have Sabrina on today is because, you know, we live in a remote world. People are working remotely, and it's very difficult to create team environments when you are working remotely. And I have seen Sabrina do it in like such a massively incredible way that I was like, dude, I really want to share what you have been doing with the world. And so I want to start by first asking, like, you've been a research administrator long enough to be an RA both remotely and in the organization when you go to the office. How have you found that remote work has changed the way you engage with research administration, the way your teams have? How has that changed for you?
So, I mean, we were both trained in person, right? You sat with somebody. I remember when you were showing me how to do post-award recons and I was typing in numbers and you'd be like, why are you typing that number there? And I was like, oh, because you told me to. So, you know, and that interaction is great. But we're in a new world and we have to embrace it. The new world is remote. We don't need to be on site. Academic medical center or university space costs a lot of money. We are not as valuable as the researchers who need the space. So it's better that they have it and that we're at home, but it does bring its own challenges. I kind of categorize it as legacy relationships exist, right? You and I know each other in person. A lot of people on my team knew each other in person and they have those like legacy relationships with each other, and those carry very well into the remote world because you already know each other. You know each other's spouses, you know each other's kids, you remember each other's getting married. Like, you know, there was a camaraderie of in person, but what we don't have is the ability to recreate those legacy relationships in a remote world. And instead of reverting back, which is what some people are trying to do and saying, oh, we have to go back to the office, it's the only way to create that camaraderie. I actually think that's the wrong way. We need to invest more into what can we do in the remote world to how can we train people when you're not sitting with them? So that's one problem on its own. Mm-hmm. How can I train somebody to be really good at this job with using the tools that I have remotely and recognizing that people have different learning styles? So it is easy for some people to learn remotely because they can share screen and they're used to learning in this way. And other people, this is actually really challenging. They're not used to this method of sharing screen and learning that way. There's auditory learners, there's visual learners, there's all kinds of middle of the road people who learn in different ways. So you have to think about that. But you also have to think about how do you build the connection people have with each other so that in this field in particular, you have to be able to say, Manessa, I'm looking at this. What is this? Are you reading this the way I'm reading this? You have to have a confidence in your relationship with the person and a comfort in your relationship with the person to be able to connect the dots and say, hey, what is this? You know, and how do I create a virtual team where they're growing relationships amongst each other? It's not just about me interacting with them or my managers or supervisors are interacting. They need to interact with each other. They need to build that relationship. So I have not solved the problem, and I think a lot of us are trying. That's the problem we have to solve. How do we become a community of people who know each other, who really know each other and trust each other so that we can say, you know, I messed this thing up. How do I fix this? Right? Because we mess things up. We got to fix it. Or we read something wrong. And, you know, we have to be able to share it's easy to hide it in a remote world to say, like, I don't know how to fix this and to not feel confident in it and to not reach out and just hope nobody sees it. Right? So to be able to reach out and say, hey, I messed this up. How do I fix this? Or shoot, you know, what am I doing? And to know each other and to build off those relationships. So what we don't want to do is go back to having to have those in-person relationships, but we really need to create the new world and get away from the idea that those legacy relationships are the only way to have that sense of community and to grow getting to know each other and growing in our ability to share our highs and our lows together so that we're learning from each other and just accommodating everybody's different style of how they like to work, when they like to work, right? I'm not a micromanager on like when people want to work. If you want to work at midnight, I don't think that's a great idea. And I want you to hold the line on like, this is what I told the team. You have to hold the line on like if you're setting the expectation for your PIs that you're always available, the next person who takes this portfolio after you is going to be held to those same expectations. So you have to hold the line for the whole team on like setting your own boundaries, because it's not just your personal boundaries. It's the team's boundaries that you're setting, and that you have to hold it for all of us. Think about me with my kids at basketball practice, right? I don't think of it's not just you, it's all of us together. And if you're just trying to be helpful, and so many people just want to be so helpful, you just want to be helpful, that's great. But hold the line for me, because I need the line held too. You know what I mean? And we're a chain. If we're not doing it together, nobody's going to respect our boundaries. So we have to think of it as a unity, as a team. Like, you don't need to work at 9:00 at night if you've been working since 7 a.m. Like, you don't need to. And yeah, things might be late, and that's okay. We'll do it tomorrow. You know, some things are time sensitive. Grants have to go in, understood. But the grant deadlines are usually 5 p.m., right? Other than DOD, right? But like, we understand, right? We understand a progress report is due today, but there's nothing stopping us from submitting it tomorrow morning. It's going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like, hold the line for each other. And I think that also helps build that community. Like, if you understand that you setting your boundary is actually helping me and my kids, and you're doing that, I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Like, we're in that together.
It's funny. I remember when Jen taught me about that, because the truth is I would work much longer hours, and there were so many reasons. I was trying to prove something. I was a people pleaser. Like, there were a whole lot of psychological, I've worked it out in therapy. So but that was really what motivated me to work a lot when I was younger. And I remember Jen saying to me that what you just said, which is that you set expectations that this is the norm. So you may not have kids. Like, I didn't have kids, and, so I could work late and do whatever, and that's great. But then whoever takes the portfolio afterwards is now bound by what you have set as that. And then it creates almost a frustration, because then they don't feel like, and they have control over their own schedules, because there's a momentum. This is just how we do things around here, which then becomes culture, which then becomes burnout, and so on. I love how you talk about like building that camaraderie. I'm curious to know what you think about this. You mentioned that a lot of people are saying we go back into the office to be able to build those legacy relationships, which I love that idea, that term, by the way, legacy relationships. I'm going to use that forever. And I've also seen people trying to build community by almost replicating what we did in the past. Sort of like, let's have more. It's like we did this during the pandemic, having more Zoom meetings and having more, like, if you had like 6 meetings a day where you were running around in the buildings, then now you're going to have 6 Zoom meetings, where that is so not the same, right? It is so not the same. Do you feel like there is that people may be coming at it like the wrong, not just even in like we don't need to go back to the office, but in terms of how they're building community online? Like, what do you think people get wrong about that in terms of just trying to do a direct one-to-one translation?
Yeah, I think one thing that and I'm actually leading something in NCure about this, is we lose a lot of body language, facial expressions, and, instant reactions to things, that if I'm talking to you in person and I say, I'm going through something really tough, and then I'm crying, and then I messed this up, I caused $100,000 in deficit, the PI is screaming at me, that empathy moment that you feel when you're in person, right? That human to human connection, it doesn't always translate in the digital environment in the same way. And one thing I think we need to do is try to project more empathy on each other when it's just reading words, right? So if I read an email that said, hey, I messed this up, I caused $100,000 deficit, what do you think? You're not going to feel what I felt, because you didn't see it, right? You didn't see what happened, which was I was upset. The PI was screaming. You know what I mean? Like, you missed that human moment, and all you got was the text. So behind every email that we're reading is a human reaction that we can't see, and sometimes we're interpreting incorrectly, right? We may think, oh, well, Sabrina made a mistake, but she doesn't feel bad about it, or, it doesn't seem to be affecting her.
Right.
And you'll make a judgment on it, whether you're consciously making a decision like, she's you know, she's owning it and she's going to deal with it and it's not a big deal. We have created a layer in between us of humanness that we don't have. Now we can talk to each other on Zoom, but most of our communication with PIs with each other is email, right? And when we do that, we've taken away what you can't see, which is our humanness. Like, we're not artificial intelligence. Like, we are human beings, and we come with deep feelings and deep connectedness and the need to connect. So I don't know. I think the answer is that we have to build more empathetic reading skills into our workflow so that we're connecting in a way that we're not right now. So, hey, I got an email from somebody and they're taking the rest of the day off, right? I could respond and just say, okay, right? But what I might miss is, are you okay? Like,
Yeah.
did something happen? Like, is there anything I can do for you? Do you need me to be your out of office? Can I take some work off your plate? Like, all that stuff that if you had had a conversation with a person where they said, listen, I'm having a horrible day and something terrible just happened and I got to go to the hospital or something, and, you know, whatever. Like, the human connectedness, we almost have to be really proactive in, like, trying to find it again, because we live in a world where we are disconnected from it. So I tell my kids, internet relationships are not real. You never really know who you're talking to, but you have to try to create a world where there is another side, and it's almost like you have to double check in on people and show them, like, are you okay? Or is everything okay? Or how are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, more than you would in person, because you're disconnected, not just physically from each other, but emotionally.
You know, that's what I've noticed. I've noticed about working with you is that, like, you know, because I do get the team emails, and you do take time and effort to make sure that you send emails that, like, remind people of their importance as human beings. But I think also you brought up, this has come up a few times so far, so I'm going to actually pull it out directly, is that there is a necessity of vulnerability that is required when you are doing things virtually versus, like, that you have to, like, intentionally be vulnerable versus, like, let's say, for example, I'm having a really bad day and I come to you and I say, Sabrina, I need to go home. I wear my emotions on my face, right? And you're very empathetic. You will immediately be able to see, looking at my body language and everything, exactly what's going on, and pick up whether I want to be left alone or need, like, there's a lot of stuff, like, silent things that get past. And one of the conversations I had with somebody in the past was talking about how they like to have team chats, and they were like, team chats work really, really well. It's great. And we were having this conversation, and this other person was talking about how, no, team chats don't work for me. Nobody ever uses my team chat, and team chats suck, and, like, was just very negative about the whole thing and feeling there was a lot of tension in that conversation. And I could immediately see why somebody may not want to talk in that person's chat, because they were externalizing everything, and I did not feel safe even, like, you know, engaging on that, because I felt like it would be taken as a personal attack. So I feel like, you know, when you have a manager who has a team chat who is vulnerable themselves, so, like, I'm having a bad day, because it starts with leadership, right? So, like, what the leader does, the staff will follow on. So if the leader says, I'm having a bad day, I'm going to actually take a half day, or during a team meeting talking about how they screwed up on something and this is how they fixed it, but, like, sort of sharing their vulnerability, it then opens up for the people who have those legacy relationships who are easily more comfortable with each other, right? Because they will share. And I think that trickles down to, like, the new people who see each other person sort of sharing their whatever challenges they're having or whatever needs they have or what have you. They see that happening without consequence, right? Or, like, and not necessarily without consequence, because sometimes consequences are necessary depending on what it is, right? Like, hey, you didn't do your recons for 10 months and that's why this is in deficit. Okay, we need the consequences and we're going to need to do some training, right? Or, like, whatever it is. But it gives the safety to know that I can do this in a safe place. You will help me. We will solve the problem. And then whatever the things are that we need to deal with afterwards, we will. But I'm not going to get kicked off into the cliff and be like, well, that sucks for you that happened, you know, or this is your fault. Okay?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think one thing I've really learned as a director lately is that you have to meet people where they are, right?
Yeah.
I have people who love the team chat, and I have people who absolutely hate the team chat. And I make it clear, I hope I make it clear to them that, like, it is completely participatory. If it is annoying you, if it is making your day worse, leave the team chat.
Oh, God.
It's not required to participate in it. If it doesn't work for you, that's okay. It's not required. And things like, and I know some people get really into this, and I know that we just talked about body language, but if you are more comfortable with your camera off, if that makes it you safer, if that makes you fine, I'm fine with that. I had an entire staff member who, once the pandemic started, I never saw her face again. She did a phenomenal job. And that's okay. Like, you have to meet people where they are. If they don't want to come on camera because that doesn't work for them, no problem. And so I just, like, that's been something I've had to learn, is that it is not one size fits all, especially with a team as big as mine. You have to be flexible with what people are comfortable with and listen for them to tell. If they are saying that the team chat is making their day worse, then make sure that they don't need to participate in that. You know what I mean? If somebody says the team meeting is not working for me, I really can't do it, it's too overwhelming, we could record it, right? We could send it out later. Like, if there's something I can do that can make somebody on my team feel like they can do their job better or feel more comfortable, then we want to do that. We want to be flexible. But you yourself have to internalize that, like, your flexibility, it's not about what you want. It's not about what I want or what makes my day better. It's about what makes my staff's days better, and, like, thinking of them and, like, showing people, like, we're willing to accommodate whatever you need, right? If you need, here's one thing that we struggle with in a remote world is, I need you to be able to find coverage for yourself, which means you have to know people and have to feel comfortable asking them. And I'm trying to think outside of the box of how to create a better network for doing that, because especially brand new people, like, they don't know anybody, they don't know each other, they might have a vacation coming up next month. Who are they going to ask, right? So I can direct it. I can say, I need you to ask this person, but how do I get them to just go talk to each other without having a coffee pot to hang around or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, how do you do that? How do you bring them together? So just being flexible in what works for people, letting people know that you're flexible in what works for them so they feel comfortable asking for it, and trying to build connections together. And I've been really thinking about this, like, maybe doing, instead of just doing the big team meeting with all of my people on my staff, maybe meeting by department. Everybody who supports Gen Med, everybody who supports cardiology, like, getting together in small groups as well. Getting together the brand new RAs who are brand new and just sort of checking in with them as a group. Like, how are you guys doing? So, you know, just, I'm trying to think outside the box of how to create better connections for people in the remote world, because that's the problem to solve. The problem to solve isn't, let's just go back into the office. There isn't even space for us. And that space is so valuable. It's not for us. It's for the PIs. It should be for the science. Like, we are not. For
the science.
Right. We're in the way of the office that they want to put their postdoc in or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we're helpful if we're not there. So getting away from that is the solution, and working towards, well, what can we try to build outside of the box that we haven't done before, that isn't the way that we came up in this, but that is more valuable in the long run, because we can attract top talent, because we're not bound by geography, right? And we can support people in where they are and in their lives. Like, who the heck wants to sit in a car?
Oh my God. Remember how long the commute, like, ridiculous. We live in Massachusetts. Like, the commute is like, your commute was like 3 hours.
Yep.
So because I remember Syra and Euler were both north of Mass. I mean, you're still both north of Mass, but, you know, you had one snowstorm and now you've lost 6 hours of your day just getting to and from work. And by the time you get to work, you're just like, I can't, like, you can't even function. I remember when I used to get to work, the first thing I would do was I'd sit in my chair and be like,
right, you're exhausted
and, like,
already.
Your commute is like a job in and of itself.
Right.
You know, I'll tell you something. And this is actually what the moment I was like, oh my God, I got to get Sabrina on this. So we did a team meeting talking about getting to know people and creating that camaraderie. And Sabrina I came in a little late, so it had already started when I came in. And I come in and there's this video playing on the screen. And I thought it was some big complicated thing that you had done, Sabrina. I didn't realize it was just a YouTube video, which is even more freaking brilliant. Anyone can do this, like, right now. So she found this YouTube video, which I'll get the link for and put in the show notes. And it basically was, it would play a few notes of a song from the 80s, right? And then everybody had to guess what it was. And I think it had some 90s songs too. Like, it had enough of a mix to where, like, the younguns could, like, you know, they're like, oh, I remember Men Without Hats. There's a safety dance, right? But there was some, actually, I think there was one by, oh my God, who was it? The Weeknd, that I didn't know. But it was great because you got to see, first, a lot of people connecting on musical tastes that you didn't necessarily realize that they had. Generationally, people connected. And then it was really interesting because someone's like, oh my God, I heard that when I was a kid. I know all the words, but yet, like, I didn't, or something, you know, like, and I heard it my whole life. And so I think that it's such a small thing, and it only took like 5 minutes, maybe 7 minutes. It didn't take a long time. It was very fast, but everybody was laughing. Everybody was having a really good time. And then we just dove right into work. But that experience of itself created a camaraderie sort of thing. And so I'm curious to know, what was it that made you do that? Like, were you just like looking for something, or did somebody do it at another part, or like another party?
No, this is me. I put it on my calendar, a reminder to myself about a week ahead of every team meeting to start looking for, I call it like my icebreaker. Something that we can do for a few minutes that is or is not work related. Like I had a trivia game, and I mailed them Girl Scout cookies from my daughter was selling them, and I really wanted these things out of my house. So I was like, I will happily mail you some Girl Scout cookies. I let them pick the kind they wanted. I had 500 boxes in my house at that point, so I was like, sure, you can have everything you want. And just it gave people a chance to be a little bit competitive. Some people just are, some people just aren't. You know, it was just general trivia knowledge. And I just saw that, like, that's something that people like. And it is something that, again, not everybody enjoys. And I try to, like, say, like, I understand. You know, there are people who don't like this, and it is corny, but we're going to sing karaoke, we're going to do trivia, like, something to do a human connection with each other to replicate what we don't have, which is humanness with each other. Like, you are a 2D image. You know what I mean? Like, and I need to know the whole 3D part of you. So I put it on my calendar. I search for things. I was actually just thinking about this yesterday, like, because I'm going to go on vacation and then I have a team meeting coming up. Like, I better think ahead of time of, like, what else we can do to, like, connect.
You're going to have to send me the list so I can include everything you've done so far, so that anyone watching can then take it and do this at their own team meeting, because it made such a difference.
Yeah. And we're going through tough times. And so you need a minute to, like, not do work. And I don't want people to come to team meetings and just hear me talk about a bunch of, like, this and that and this and that. And don't forget to do this, and don't, you know, I want you to, like, have a minute of, like, go get a cup of coffee, you know, like, one of my favorite ones was sort of, we did show and tell, and one of the people on my team brought her husband, and I was like, somebody brought their kids.
I showed my dog that day. I brought Luna in. Oh my God, she was so cute.
See the dogs. I want to see the kids. I want to see your spouse, right? Like, show me your favorite cup, like, whatever you got going on. Like, I don't know. There's a moment where you can be a human being together, and that matters. The one that stuck out to me the most, other than that, was when we did a word cloud, and it was a little bit more serious, but I asked people, like, are you planning to work this weekend? And you can anonymously sort of answer, right? Or tell me one word about how you're feeling today. Stressed, overworked, overwhelmed, you know, okay, like, whatever's going on, and to be able to safely, anonymously say it out loud without having to say it.
I remember that one too. I'd forgotten about that one.
Just to share, like, we have to let each other know, like, we're here for you. We're here for each other. And you as a human being matters to me as a human being. And that, you know, if we're going to take 10 minutes and do something silly, I think that matters. I think it helps, you know, to connect.
Absolutely. I think, you know what, this actually is a thread, and, you know, just sort of wrap us up as we're getting to the end, and then I want to give you the opportunity to say anything that you didn't get a chance to say, but is that you've sort of, that has come throughout the entire conversation we've had, is that the people matter, and that you matter, and that you are a person first. Like, I think that, like, that's, for many years, definitely in the 80s when I was growing up, and it has its roots long before that, but it wasn't about the person. It was come in, do your job, do the thing, you know, and that's really, like, and it got to almost a pathological state at some point where it's like, you are not a person, you are just the role that you play. And I feel like it takes a concerted and intentional effort to demonstrate to the people who are in your care at work that they matter and that you're approaching this differently. And I think that's really like that is where I think what sets you apart as a leader is that you start with people first, not, and then you rely on their internal motivations and the fact that they're grown-ups to do their job, and that really makes people feel empowered, and that's awesome. I love it. As we wrap up, is there any last things that you wanted to say that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
No, I think it's easy to trust your team when you have such a good one and that you enjoy them and you enjoy each other. And I just, if you're building a team remotely, making sure that you enjoy each other and have a laugh and just connect. And the work will always be there, and we're here to do a job, but the job isn't your life. And your life is more important than anything else going on. So, make sure you're setting the boundaries for yourself of like, this is work and this is my humanness, and, elevating to your comrades and reaching out and connecting, because that's what this is all about. Work is work, and we're here to do a serious job, but we're also here to be people.